Hello, everyone, and welcome to the 2014-2015 Celtics Media Day Live presented by Optum. I'm Emily Austin, joined by Mark D'Amico and Celtics head coach Brad Stevens. Brad, long time no see. Sarcasm, clearly. We just caught up with you at the golf tournament. Let's talk a little bit about the news that broke on Friday. Rajon Rondo broke his hand and will be out 6 to 8 weeks. How did you take this news?
Well, obviously, you know, when you're in my position, you've got to think about, first and foremost, get the story. How did it happen? Then you're starting, obviously, trying to connect with him to make sure that right before he goes into surgery he's okay. I've texted with him a little bit after, and then I saw him today. And but with regard to our team, you move forward and you play with who's available and you practice with who's available, and that's the way you have to think about it. And there's really no other way to go about it from my seat.
Now, last year, obviously, you knew that he wasn't going to be in training camp with that torn ACL, recovering from the surgery. This year, a few days before training camp, so what does it change for you in terms of preparation?
Well, you know, it changes a little bit, but it doesn't change much. You know, we're going to still do very similar stuff. We may hold off with adding a thing or two that fits him better, that doesn't fit, you know, his replacements as well. And so we'll figure that out. And you know, we've had 6 months to think about our team, right? And 3 days to make small tweaks and changes as we move forward and get ready for tomorrow.
And Coach Stevens, when we saw you at the golf tournament, you said there's about 150 rotation. It's kind of been a puzzle for you. So with Rondo out, that, you know, makes that a little bit more difficult. We're going to Twitter using the hashtag Celtics Talk. This one from Will Hawkins. Who's going to take over the starting point guard position when until Rondo comes back?
Well, I think it'll be by committee. It's hard to tell. You know, obviously, I think we have multiple primary ball handlers on our team. And, you know, I think the primary ball handlers, in my opinion, that I really see are, you know, obviously Pressey, Smart, and Turner. And so, you know, we'll see how that shakes itself out over the next few weeks.
How do you think it's going to, you know, be for Marcus Smart if he does get that starting role, to just throw him into the fire and, hey, learn as you go type of?
It's a big if.
Yeah.
It's a big if, so we'll cross that bridge when we get there.
Do you see him more as a 2 or a 1? Obviously, we saw him play a lot of 2 or alongside Phil Pressey during Summer League. But
he's a basketball player. He's not what you would consider to be a pure 1 a la Rondo. But he's also a guy that can handle it. He can play off pick and rolls. He can also play off pin downs and actions off the ball, which is pretty unique.
Another piece of that puzzle of the starting rotations, you have a lot of 4s on this team. How do you think that, you know, that's going to shake out, and who are you looking forward to seeing, you know, fight for that role and maybe playing together at the 4 and the 5?
Yeah, I think that there's going to be a lot of competition there, and I think our 4s are 5s and our 5s are 4s. We really don't have a true center, with the exception of maybe Zeller. So we're gonna play with mixed, you know, with lots of different groups. I will say this: the other guys that we'll see some time there early on, especially in the exhibition season, and we'll feel it out, are Jeff and Gerald.
There's been a lot of new guys added to this roster. What's it been like for you to, you know, meet those guys and get to know them a little bit better?
It's been great. Most of them have been around, and they're all really good guys. They're all anxious to get started. And, you know, I think that everybody here has got a chip on their shoulder, as they should.
If you need coaching advice, who's the guy that's on speed dial that, you know, after a game you need to talk to or just vent to, or if you have some ideas that you want to run by them, guys that aren't on your coaching staff, obviously?
You know what? It kind of depends on what the issue is, or what I think we need to talk about. Very rarely during the season are you calling and asking X's and O's questions. I mean, that's for the off season. That's going and meeting with people, or that's going and talking to people. I spent time with multiple NBA coaches, but also coaches in other industries and other sports that I really picked the brain of this summer. But when we get into the season, it's more management. It's more thinking about how to, you know, get somebody going and how best to make them tick. And so it's a lot more focused on the individual and coaching the individual than it is on the X's and O's, because that stuff has been thought about all summer.
Coach, when you came from Butler, you won a lot of games, and obviously, you know, not as many as you wanted to last season. How has it been, like Danny Ainge said last season, Brad, just have a little bit of patience? What have you done to kind of, you know, just take a step back and just be patient? Because it has to be so difficult for a guy like you.
It's been very difficult. It was very difficult last season. One of the things that I really appreciate now in retrospect, having gone through a very difficult season, is you still come back to work and focus on all the things you know are important, and all the things that lead to success still haven't changed. And I really didn't feel any different about my performance, other than I feel like I got a lot better at coaching at this level. And so hopefully I can be better than I was at the start of the year. Hopefully all of our players can feel the same way, and we can be better throughout the season.
Whose relationship have you grown the most with since last season, do you think?
You mean player-wise?
Player-wise. Mm-hmm.
Oh, I don't know if I could single out a guy. I think, all the young guys have been here quite a bit. Mm-hmm. I try to invest in everybody with equal amount of time when I can, but I've got a good relationship with all the guys and the group of people that I'm so thrilled about, the staff, because I think that we were able to we lost one assistant, Ron Adams, who did a great job for us, but we were able to promote from within and keep our staff together, and I think that's critical when you've got a good group of people.
All right, Celtics fans, we're asking you to join in on the conversation on Twitter using the hashtag Celtics Talk. Mark, you haven't talked in a while. You want to take this next question?
We've got Ivan is throwing in the question, what is the most important target for the team right now? Is it having good team chemistry, making the playoffs, or something else?
Well, I think making the playoffs is a long-term vision, right? It's a thing that happens in April because you've achieved it throughout the whole course of the year. So as far as right now, today, it's about building team and controlling what you can. And I think that those are the things that I am going to hammer, have been hammering in our individuals, and now we'll hammer as we start practice.
And obviously, we know that you're a short-term goal type of guy, but do you talk to the players? Do you talk about playoffs? Do you say that to them tomorrow when you address them?
I think the one thing you've got to be careful of is, okay, are you going to set your goals? Are you going to create a ceiling by setting your goals, right? So if let's say that you want to make the playoffs, well, once you get there, are you happy? And I think, no, there's only one goal in this organization, and that never changes. That is a day-to-day focus, and that is to be the best in the NBA. And I think, obviously, there are steps and there's a process to get there. But if you ever set anything less than that, then I don't think you're giving – then I don't think you're – I think you're setting a ceiling for people, and I think that's the worst thing you can do as a coach.
Do you take a similar mindset in terms of individual goals? We're not setting a ceiling with those guys as well?
Yeah, I mean, I think the one thing about individual goals is you have to have some humility involved. Guys that can't shoot shouldn't shoot. Guys that are 5'8" aren't going to lead the league in rebounding. So you've got to figure out where your strengths are, and those need to be the center of your individual goals.
Coach, before we let you go, we're going back to Twitter one more time. Justin Condo, Brad has an emphasis on paying a lot of attention to detail. Is this something you use to get maximum effort out of your players?
Yeah, I think that's something that you've really got to talk about. It's a huge part of performing is doing your job on every possession. And no team's going to do that for all 48 minutes. The quest of a coach is for perfection. It's never going to happen, but it's something that we can all shoot to, and that keeps us going every day.
Coach, let's go behind the arc. A lot of criticism last season about, you liking these big guys taking threes. Are you still confident in your stand on that?
They're some of our best shooters.
Mm-hmm.
They're some of our best shooters, and they make the game different. They give us a chance to stretch the floor and maybe take advantage of a skill set versus a person with a little bit more athleticism, especially when you're looking at the five. It doesn't mean that they should continue to shoot if they're incapable of making, but it means that they should be confident in growing their skills and add it to who they are.
How do you judge that? Is that based off of what you see in practice, or is that based more off of what you see in games?
Yeah, I think it's based on what you see in practice and games. But we're with these guys year-round as far as watching them shoot in individuals. And so, I've always said a really good shooter from behind the three-point line makes 70 out of 100 threes without anybody else in the gym. You get a great shooter out there, it's probably more like 80 out of 100. You get the best of the best, and very rarely will they hit under 85. You get below that 70 mark, and you can kind of throw yourself into that mix of, good but not great shooters. And so, we've got a lot of bigs that can shoot the ball, and we've got a lot of bigs that can get better shooting the ball. And I think, Sully's a great example of a guy that didn't shoot a great percentage last year, but when his hand wasn't wrapped up, he shot 34%, which is a really good three-point percentage. And so you have to keep building and growing and getting better in those things and believing that if you're seeing good form and you're seeing good reps, that it's just going to get better.
Coach, is this your first stop on Media Day? We're
First
just
stop
warming
on
up.
Media Day.
Okay, well, you have great kicks on, by the way. I know
Yeah.
you can't see it,
Yeah.
but brand new kicks. One of our camera guys might be able to get it.
Yeah, there you go.
Johnny Joe hooked you up with those?
No,
I like
he
him
did.
there.
No, he didn't. No, he did.
Personal purchase.
Personal purchase. That's right.
Okay, Coach Stevens, looking forward to your second year at the helm of this team. We have Marcus Smart, one of your
Right.
newest players, coming up next. And he actually had an opportunity to throw the first pitch out at Fenway this summer. So before we get to that feature, we want to let everyone know that if you want a girls or guys night out to see one of the Celtics games this season, you should. Girls and guys night out packages include 4 tickets, food and beverage credit, and Celtics glasses. You can get yours today at Celtics.com/GNO.